Hi, I'm Priscilla. Not Priscilla Montgomery with the 12 houses and private jet. Just Priscilla Chen. Or at least I was until I married Richard. I never thought I'd be someone's billionaire's wife, but here I am, still wearing the same $30 lip gloss and drinking coffee from paper cups. Mrs. Montgomery, would you like to see the Celestial collection? The saleswoman, Veronica, according to her name tag, smiled with too many teeth. Her gaze kept darting to Richard, who was taking a business call outside. Just browsing today, thanks. I moved toward a display case of necklaces, my reflection distorted in the glass. Veronica hovered, hands clasped. These pieces require special handling. Perhaps you'd prefer something more accessible? Morgan, my best friend since college, raised an eyebrow. Pre's been coming here for years. Before Richard, I added quietly. Of course. Veronica's smile tightened. I'm new here. I don't believe we've met before. I pointed to an emerald necklace. May I see that one? Veronica hesitated. It's $12 million. I'm aware of the price. She reluctantly removed it, watching my every move as I examined it. The weight felt good in my hands, substantial, like my grandmother's jade pendants. Exquisite craftsmanship, I murmured. Morgan's phone buzzed. It's the caterer. Wedding crisis. Be right back. She squeezed my arm before stepping outside. The moment we were alone, Veronica's demeanor changed. Are you actually considering this piece? Her tone suggested I was wasting her time. I might be. It's just... She glanced at my simple dress. James mentioned you used to come in often but never purchased anything significant. James. The floor manager who always watched me like I might stuff diamonds in my pockets. I'm going to try it on. As I fastened it around my neck, Veronica's eyes narrowed. Careful with the clasp. It's delicate. I admired the necklace in the mirror, then reached back to remove it. The clasp caught on my hair. Here, let me... Veronica started. At that moment, James appeared. Is everything all right here? Fine, I replied, finally freeing the clasp. As I handed the necklace back, Veronica gasped. The emerald, it's... She turned to James. One of the side stones is missing. What? No, that's not possible. I leaned forward to inspect it. James took the necklace. It appears you're right, Veronica. I didn't... Security! James called sharply. There must be some mistake, I insisted as a guard appeared. Veronica's voice turned cold. Check her purse and pockets. Excuse me? My cheeks burned. I didn't take anything. Then you won't mind us checking, James said smoothly. Or shall we call the police? Morgan returned, eyes wide. What's happening? They think I stole a diamond from this necklace, I said, voice shaking. That's absurd, Morgan exclaimed. Is there a problem here? Richard's deep voice cut through the tension as he entered the store. James straightened. Mr. Montgomery, there seems to be a situation with your... companion. My wife, Richard corrected. Yes, well, a stone appears to be missing from this necklace after she handled it. Richard's expression remained calm. And you believe my wife pocketed a single diamond from a necklace worth millions? We're simply following protocol, Veronica insisted. How much is the necklace? Richard asked. James cleared his throat. $12 million, sir. I'll take it. Richard removed his wallet. And I'd like to speak to the owner about how you treat your customers. Veronica's face drained of color. But sir, the missing stone? Richard pointed to the floor beneath the display case. You mean that one? There, gleaming on the polished floor, was the diamond. The car ride home was silent. Richard's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. You didn't have to buy it, I finally said. Yes, I did. His jaw tightened. No one treats my wife that way. Morgan leaned forward from the back seat. That was straight-up discrimination. Did you see how that witch looked at Pry before you showed up? Like she was something stuck to her shoe. I stared out the window. It's not the first time? What do you mean? Richard glanced at me. James. He used to follow me around the store before we were married. Once accused me of switching price tags. You never told me that. Richard's voice was dangerously quiet. Because it doesn't matter. Things like this happen all the time. That's exactly why it matters, Morgan interjected. You just accept it as normal. It's not normal. Morgan's right, Richard said. This isn't something you should have to tolerate. I sighed. What would you have me do? Make a scene every time someone follows me in a store? Call out every sales clerk who ignores me? If necessary, yes, Richard replied firmly. Easy for you to say, I retorted. You're a white man with $1 billion. Richard was quiet for a moment. You're right. I don't know what it's like, but I do know what I saw today, and it was wrong. Morgan touched my shoulder gently. We could actually do something about this. Make them accountable. It matters to me. Richard pulled into our driveway. And we're not letting it go this time. Morgan's eyes gleamed. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we need to find out if this is a pattern. Richard turned to me. Did you notice the security cameras? I nodded. Everywhere. Good. He pulled out his phone. Darren, I need your services. Possible discrimination case. 3 days later, Darren, Richard's head of security, sat across from us in our living room. His laptop displayed footage from Belrose Jewelers. They didn't want to cooperate at first, Darren explained. But your husband can be very persuasive. You threatened them? I asked Richard. I reminded them of defamation laws. He shrugged. And mentioned my stake in their parent company. Darren clicked through several clips. I found 17 incidents in the past year involving customers of color, 5 specifically with Asian women. Same employees? Morgan asked. Usually James or Veronica. She's only been there 3 months but has the most complaints. Show us the worst ones, I requested, leaning forward. Darren nodded grimly. This one's from 2 weeks ago. The screen showed an elderly Asian woman being publicly searched while other customers stared. James stood watching, arms crossed. That poor woman, Morgan whispered. They found nothing, of course, Darren added. She left in tears. Richard's jaw tightened. Do we have her name? Mrs. Lynn. Sophia Lynn. I have her contact information. I felt a knot form in my stomach. She could be someone's grandmother. She is, Darren confirmed. 3 grandkids. Detective Martinez arrived next. A recommendation from Richard's attorney. What exactly are you hoping to accomplish, Mrs. Montgomery? She asked, notebook ready. I want them to stop doing this to people. People who don't have husbands who can buy $12 million necklaces to prove a point. Martinez nodded. The footage helps, but we need more. Other victims willing to speak up. I can find them, Morgan offered. I work in PR. I know how to reach people discreetly. And I know someone at the Commission on Human Rights, Richard added. This isn't just about me anymore, is it? I realized aloud. Richard took my hand. It never was, but you're the one they messed with, so you decide how far we take this. Martinez's phone buzzed. Sorry, need to take this. She stepped into the hallway. You okay? Morgan asked me quietly. I keep thinking about how many people this has happened to. People who just had to take it. Martinez returned, expression grim. That was interesting. Turns out Veronica Williams has a history. 3 complaints at her previous employer. Another high-end retailer. All settled privately. She's a repeat offender, Richard concluded. And James protected her, I added. Martinez closed her notebook. If you're willing to come forward officially, we might have enough for a case. Will it be public? I hesitated. Eventually, yes. Morgan squeezed my shoulder. Think of all the people you'll help. I looked at the frozen security image on Darren's laptop. Veronica's face twisted with accusation, my own shocked expression. Let's do it, I decided. All the way. The mediation room felt too small for the emotions it contained. Veronica sat across from me, flanked by James and the store's attorney. Richard and our lawyer, Miss Patel, sat beside me. We appreciate your willingness to discuss this matter privately, their lawyer began. Before we start, Miss Patel interrupted, my client has brought someone. On cue, the door opened. A woman named Sophia entered, one of 5 former customers who had come forward after Morgan's careful outreach. What is this? James demanded. This is Sophia Lynn. 3 months ago, you accused her of stealing a bracelet, called security, emptied her purse on the counter. James paled. That situation was different. Was it? Miss Patel slid forward a folder. Because we have statements from 4 other women with remarkably similar experiences. This is outrageous, James sputtered. You can't ambush us like this. Miss Patel remained composed. This isn't an ambush, Mr. Harrington. This is accountability. Veronica leaned toward her lawyer, whispering frantically. My client maintains she was following store protocol, their attorney stated. Really? I finally spoke. Is it protocol to tell customers certain items are probably out of their price range? To follow them around? To immediately assume theft when something goes missing? I never, Veronica began. We have it all on camera, Richard interrupted. Every interaction, every side comment, every look. This is ridiculous, James huffed. We're a high-end establishment. We have to be vigilant. Against whom? I challenged. Because your vigilance seems very selective. You're twisting this, Veronica snapped. I was doing my job. Your job is customer service, not racial profiling, Sophia countered. Veronica's face flushed. This is absurd. I'm not racist. Some of my best friends are... Don't, I cut her off. Just don't. What exactly do you want? Their lawyer asked warily. Miss Patel outlined our demands. A formal apology, sensitivity training for all staff, a revision of security protocols, and a significant donation to an anti-discrimination organization. And termination of both employees involved, Richard added. James slammed his hand on the table. This is a shakedown. You can't demand our jobs. Actually, we can, Miss Patel said calmly. The alternative is a very public lawsuit with evidence that would be devastating to your brand. Veronica suddenly looked desperate. Mrs. Montgomery, please. I have a family to support. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry. Now you're sorry. My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. After we found 4 other women you humiliated, after we threatened your job, where was this remorse when you were calling security on me? I wasn't thinking clearly. I've learned my lesson, I swear. Your lesson? I stood up. My grandmother was followed in stores her entire life. My mother had cashiers check every bill she handed them. I've had my ID questioned at banks where I've been a customer for years. This isn't about your lesson. Please, Veronica begged, tears forming. I'll do anything, just don't take my job. James tried a different approach. Richard, be reasonable. This could be handled discreetly with proper compensation. Richard's eyes flashed. Are you attempting to bribe me? No, I'm suggesting a mutually beneficial resolution. Veronica grabbed my arm as I turned away. You can't do this to me. The security guard stationed outside entered immediately. Ma'am, please remove your hand. You spoiled, vindictive... Veronica's nails dug into my skin. The guard intervened, pulling her back. That's assault. Step away now. This isn't over, Veronica shouted as she was escorted out. You think you're better than everyone because of your rich husband? You're nothing. 6 months later, I adjusted the lapel microphone before stepping onto the small stage. The community center was packed, a mix of reporters, activists, and supporters. Thank you all for coming, I began. Today marks the official launch of the Retail Equality Initiative. With funding from Belrose Jewelers and several other retailers, we'll be implementing training programs and anonymous reporting systems across the luxury retail sector. From the front row, Morgan gave me a thumbs up. Beside her sat Sophia and the other women who had become not just allies, but friends. Detective Martinez stood at the back, arms crossed but smiling slightly. She'd been instrumental in building the civil rights case that made this possible. After the presentation, a reporter approached. Mrs. Montgomery, do you feel you've received justice? This was never about justice for me alone, I replied. It's about changing a system that enables discrimination. And what about Veronica Williams and James Harrington? Any comment on the outcome of their case? The court made its decision. That's all I'll say on that matter. Another reporter pushed forward. Critics say you used your husband's wealth and influence to destroy two people's careers. How do you respond? I took a measured breath. I used the resources available to me to address a systemic problem. Would those critics prefer I had simply accepted being treated like a criminal because of my race? But the punishments were determined by a court of law based on evidence. I finished firmly. Now, if you'll excuse me. Richard appeared at my side, guiding me away from the press. You handled that perfectly. I felt like punching him, I admitted quietly. I know. That's why you're the face of this initiative instead of me. He smiled. I would have. Later, at the reception, Morgan handed me a glass of champagne. To making privilege work for once instead of against us. Richard joined us. The board president of Belrose called. They're implementing the new training program nationwide. Good. I sipped my drink. They're still on probation as far as I'm concerned. Sophia approached with a newspaper. Have you seen this? The small article detailed Veronica's unsuccessful appeal of the workplace discrimination judgment. Her license as a certified gemologist had been suspended, and no high-end retailer would touch her. I heard she's working at a mall kiosk now, Morgan said. And James? I asked. Took early retirement. His reputation's shot. I should have felt satisfaction, but instead felt something more complex. Not quite pity, but an awareness of the ripple effects of our actions. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. You ruined my life. Was it worth it? Can we talk? Please. Veronica. Richard noticed my expression. What is it? I showed him the message. Are you going to respond? He asked. No. I deleted the text. Some people never really understand what they did wrong. They just regret getting caught. Do you ever wonder if we went too far? Morgan asked quietly. I thought about it. I've asked myself that. But then I remember Mrs. Liu, the 70-year-old grandmother they made empty her purse in front of everyone, and the college student they called security on for trying on too many bracelets. They had choices, Richard said firmly. Every time they profiled someone, they made a choice. And now they're facing the consequences of those choices, I concluded. Detective Martinez approached. Mrs. Montgomery, I have someone who'd like to meet you. She introduced a young woman named Amy. She works at Cartier, has some similar experiences to share. We're not done, are we? I said to Richard as Amy began to tell her story. Not even close, he replied. Later that night, I stood at our bedroom window. The city lights spread below. The emerald necklace, the $12 million reminder of that day, lay in its case, unworn since I'd tried it on in the store. Do you ever regret it? Richard asked, joining me at the window. Taking it this far? Sometimes I think about Veronica's family, how this affected them, I admitted. But then I remember all the people who've been humiliated without the resources to fight back. You changed something important. We did. I turned to face him. And we're just getting started. Morgan had texted earlier about 3 more retailers with similar complaints. Detective Martinez mentioned patterns at high-end restaurants. The initiative was already expanding beyond our original vision. Some might call it revenge. I prefer to think of it as correction, a long overdue rebalancing of scales that were never fair to begin with. Hi, I'm Priscilla, and I'm not done yet.